Cheers, this is I Cook at Home. I'm Josh Tuttle. This is going to be a beginner course. We're going to do a 5-part series. And basically what we're going to do is in each part we're going to teach you some techniques. And when you put them all together, it's like kind of like the Karate Kid. Teach you a little wax on, a little wax off. I said wax off. Anyway, well, I got my beer, got my ingredients. Today we're going to make a stir fry. It's an Asian inspired dish, and today we're going to be using a pound of chicken, a bag of frozen stir-fried veggies. You can buy whatever kind you want. This is what I buy. This is what I eat. We have some organic, free-range ramen noodles. That's right, they were captured in the wild. Chicken stock, a soy sauce, hot Thai chili peppers, and good old garlic salt. And like I said, that's more for me than you. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to cut up our chicken. Get a close up there. Look at that lovely salmonella juice. You get that anywhere, you're going to want to clean that up. And you're going to poison people if you don't. So here's my pound of chicken. Watch as I daintily put this aside without spilling it. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut our meat lengthwise into strips. So now that we have our slices cut, we're going to turn it the other way. And we're going to cut them into little bite-sized chunks. Just keeping it all together. Watch your fingers. I said watch your fingers. I know you're doing this at home and you're not being careful. And God, nobody wants fingers in their stir-fry. Alright, since I'm working with chicken, I'm going to make sure I keep my hands nice and clean. Especially since I'm drinking a beer, and I'm sure you guys do the same thing. Last thing you want to do is get chicken shit all over your beer and put it in your mouth and kiss your kids, and oh, it's all terrible stuff. I'm pretty sure that's where bird flu comes from. So now that we have our chicken cut up and our hands are clean, we can go back to drinking our beer. Alright, next, garlic salt. Okay, so now that we have our chicken cut, we want to season it just a little bit. Just remember, this is salty. We want to get the garlic flavor, but we don't want to over-salt it. So I'm just going to give it a light sprinkle on top here. You can always add salt later if it's not salty enough. This is going to cook into the chicken when we cook it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to cook our noodles, and my free-range ramen really likes to be cooked in broth. So I've got 2 cans of chicken broth here. Now, since we're using chicken, that's why we're using chicken broth. If you were doing pork, you could get away with chicken broth as well. If you were doing beef or steak or whatever, you'd want to use a beef broth, just because you want the noodles to kind of get the flavors that are in your meat. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on. It's going to come to a boil. Okay, while we're waiting for our stock to boil here, I've already got my oil in my wok. We're going to turn that on. That's also going to get hot. If you're not comfortable multitasking, do the noodles first and then do the wok second. Me, I don't like to wait so much, so we're just going to go ahead and heat everything both up. Okay, so our oil's heating up. I don't know if you can see this on the camera or not, but right in here there's just like a little tiny bit of smoke. You can barely see it with the naked eye. The other trick you can do is put like a chopstick or a wooden spoon in and see how it's bubbling? That's how you know it's done enough. So, now we are going to put our chicken in. We want to do this slowly because this is very hot oil. Just going to squeeze it. That's a good sound right there. This is the sound of our oil searing our chicken. Now, the idea of searing, as you can see, the outsides are turning white. The insides will stay pink for the most part. What we're doing is we're basically creating a nice crispy texture on the outside, and it's also going to seal the juice into the chicken, so it won't dry out very easily. Alright, so our chicken's starting to golden up right now. If you look at our broth, it is boiling. Now I got a little far ahead of myself on the chicken, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it down for now. We'll crank it back up later because you definitely want heat when you're cooking with a wok. But I don't want my chicken to burn right now. Right now, my free-range noodles are going to take a bath. Now when you buy these fancy Asian ones that come wrapped in paper, do not cook the paper. When we put the noodles in, we kind of want to fan them out because they do have a habit of sticking together when they're clumped. That's because the noodles are made out of flours and other starches, and as soon as they get wet, they turn into a paste. And well, anybody who's ever sat next to the weird kid in kindergarten class knows that paste sticks. Okay, so now I like this to be a little spicy, so I'm going to use these Thai chilies. You could use any red chili if you want to add flavor to it, like a chili piquis or just crushed red peppers, or you don't even have to do it if you're not that keen on spices. So what you want to do is just take a little pinch, a little goes a long way. Put it in your water, your broth, whatever. It's going to cook in. Give it a few seconds. And then I want you to just take a little taste. See, that's not spicy enough for me, so I'm going to go ahead and put in a little more. Bam! So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stir it up. We're going to let it sit a second. And the key is, anytime you got something you can taste safely, like unlike raw chicken over here, this is safe to taste. So we're going to keep tasting it until we get it right. Yeah, that's the kick I want. Now look at this chicken over here. See how it's getting golden brown? That's going to give a nice little texture. Not crunchy, not crispy, but just a little something. And the insides are going to be wonderfully juicy. Alright, so our noodles, as you can see, they're not firm anymore. Nice and soft looking. So we're going to give it our first little taste test. So, I can tell already by looking at them. They're a little firm still. For a stir fry, we actually want to overcook them just a little bit. Right now they're what you call al dente. Al dente is when it's still a little bit firm. And if you're doing an Italian pasta or whatever, normally you put your sauce on it when it's like that and it would finish cooking and suck the sauce in. With this, we kind of want to go the other way. We're already cooking it in our sauce. What we're going to do is we're going to throw it in the stir fry later and sear it. So if it's a little softer, we're actually going to re-harden the outside by searing it and essentially caramelizing it, which brings out a little bit more sweetness in the noodle. So we'll give that a few more minutes here, and it'll be ready to go. Okay, so it looks like our noodles are done. We're going to go ahead and turn the heat off of there. Give them a taste, just to make sure. But in my experienced, wizened old man eyes, they're good. Alright, the other thing we're going to do, we're going to crank the heat back up on our chicken here. Here's another tip. Don't use metal in a coated pan, or your mom will kill you. Alright, we're going to get this really hot again, because we're going to put our noodles in here shortly. I'm going to take these off the heat, and we're going to put the noodles in with this amazing tool that I don't know what it's actually called. So for all intents and purposes, it's a spaghetti spoon. Now we're using this because we can pick up the noodles and get most of the broth out of it. We don't want too much broth in the hot oil, because when you get liquid and oil, it'll spit all over you, and it does not feel good. Alright, listen. Ready? Hear that? Not too loud. That's because I got most of the liquid off. If you hear a loud hiss, you might want to take a step back. So we're just going to keep putting all these noodles in here. Give it a little stir. I don't want my chicken sticking to the pan too badly. It's alright if there's like a little bit of noodles in the pan. Like, it's all going to get dumped in eventually. But for most of our noodles, we want to give them a little bit of a pan fry. And now we're going to teach you a new technique. This is called stirring. Oh wait, that's not a new technique now, is it? Alright, this is a tough one. So we're going to need a drink. We need to warm up. This is called sautéing. Now, it's not as hard in a wok. That's why I'm teaching you it with this recipe first. The big sides of a wok, as you can see, I can shake the crap out of this thing and nothing's going anywhere. But we're going to go in circle shapes like this, and we're just going to give it a little flip. See how it's kind of moving? We're just going to build up a little more power each time until we're comfortable. And there we go. The whole pan flips. We're going to flip the noodles. If you take a look right here, you see the noodles are starting to get a little crispy on the outside. That's exactly what we're looking for. So we're just going to keep flipping it, set it down, let it get hot again. Maybe spread them out along the walls to speed it up. That's the great thing about a wok. The way they're designed, the heat rises, and because it's curved, the walls of the wok are almost as hot as the bottom. So if you keep things spread out in a wok, things cook faster in a wok. So we're just going to keep sauteing this. Everything's starting to look real yummy here. Now, feel free to